Good afternoon. I want to welcome you to another segment of the Jermaine Brown Sports Talk Show. Today is Wednesday, April the 15th, 2015. I want to talk, my last podcast or episode, I talked about Mariota and why I fear for him. On this particular podcast, I want to talk about the other quarterback, famous Jameis Winston. Now, that's his name, folks. He's called famous Jameis Winston. But I'm just calling him Jameis Winston. Now, there's a lot of debate and hoopla as to whether he should be the number one pick or whether he shouldn't be. But here is no debate. He will be the number one pick. And before I get into explaining to you why, let me explain to you how we got to this point. Okay? There were some general consensus amongst the people in the know, like Adam Scheffler, Chris Mortensen, Charles Davis, okay, people like that, reputable people who is known for breaking information, okay? They have great sources, things of that nature, and they all pretty much said that Winston was the pick. But I'm going to take it a step further. I'm not going to do a Ron Jaworski and tell you my sources is telling me it's going to be Jameis Winston. First of all, folks, listen. With these whole sources thing, no one analyst has better sources than another. They all pretty much have the same type of sources, okay? So when Ron Jaworski went up there talking about his sources was telling him that it was going to be Marcus Mariota and stuff like that, I mean, it caused a big uproar, particularly in Tampa Bay, because why? Some people in the national media, or not people, let me not say it that way, some publications and sites decided to run with what Jaworski said because they called him a draft guru. Now, if you know anything about Ron Jaworski, Jaworski is not known for being a draft guru. What Jaworski is known for doing is breaking down tape to show you how the quarterback is doing playing that particular position, whichever quarterback it is he's viewing, and whether he's doing a good job on it or not. And Jaworski's pretty good at that. But when it comes to breaking news, that is not one of Jaworski's strengths. When it comes to draft news, like, okay, where this player is going or might end up at, where this play may end up at, that's not what Jaworski is known for. You go to Mel Kiper, you go to Todd McShay, you go to Adam Scheffler, Chris Mortensen. Any one of them would do from ESPN, particularly because the problem is really people like mainly from ESPN, because they're the ones who basically most people watch anyway. Okay? Another person who I happen to have great respect for is a guy who works for Fox, okay? And again, the ones who are really in the know, okay, they all pretty much said it's going to be Jameis Winston. But I'm going to give you even reasons where I don't need for them to tell me it's going to be Winston, for me to know that it's going to be Jameis Winston. And I'm going to explain to you why I'm saying this. It's called connecting the dots. What do I mean by connecting the dots? Okay. Well, let's start off with after the season. The first event that the NFL have after the season is over. The college football season is over. Really, after the pro season, as well as college football season is over, is what they call the scouting combines. Now, you got coaches, general managers, scouts, assistant coaches. They all show up to that. That doesn't give you a clue as to whether they're going to take a particular guy or not, because they're looking at a lot of guys. Okay? So that doesn't tell you who they're going to take just by going to that. Then, after that, you have what is called the pro days. Now, the pro days is very important to this. Now, personally, let me say this as a side note. I can't stand the combines. I can't stand the pro days. Because why? They put too much stock into whether it's going to tell you whether this player should be drafted in this round or that round, or this player is going to excel in the NFL. No, folks. No. First of all, the measures they use is antiquated. That's number one. Second of all, they're not going up against any defense or offense or whatever it is that they're pretending to perform for. I'm just not a big fan of them. But here is what I am a big fan of. When it comes to the scouting combines and the pro days, there are certain things that I will look for. Number one, does a player come in out of shape? If he comes in overweight, and I don't talk about muscle overweight, I'm talking about fat overweight, I will knock a player down for that, because come in shape, buddy. Your athletes got to understand it. I'm talking about football athletes. You got to understand this. The combines and the pro days, these are your interviews. You're interviewing for a job. Okay? It's like going on a real job interview and you're not dressed properly. It's the equivalent of showing up in shorts and a t-shirt. What are you doing? So, if you're trying to get the job, you want to put your best foot forward. You want to come in with your best appearance. So therefore, you don't want, as far as football is concerned, you don't want to come in overweight. And there's something even worse than coming in overweight. It's coming in with marijuana or some sort of drugs, non-prescription drugs in your system, folks. Those are red flags right there, because you do know you're going to be drug tested. So that means when your season ends, and I'm talking about the college players, it would be wise to lay off the weed until after you get drafted. Just a thought. If you're going to smoke the weed, wait until after you get drafted. Because if you come to the draft, to the combine or the pro day, and you got drugs in your system, you're going to be, to me, I disqualify you for that unless, and there is this one big but to that. Unless you're so much better than everyone else at that position, and I need that position. That's the only way I will not penalize you for coming in with weed. But it's a major red flag with me, because you know why? It's telling me you face a high likelihood of being suspended because of this. This is going to be your issue. Because if you can't stay off the weed until after the combines and pro days, no. So Randy Gregory from Nebraska, I would penalize him, personally speaking, for coming in with weed in the system. But this is not about Randy Gregory, but I'm just trying to give you a point of what I am looking for in pro days or combines. So now let's get back to the pro days. Here is what I am looking for when I'm trying to determine whether a team is going to take you. And we're talking about the quarterback position here, folks. We're not talking about the other positions. Okay, we're talking mainly the quarterback position. Even though this also holds true to other positions as well. But mainly the quarterback position. Now, it's known GMs show up to pro days. A GM showing up doesn't mean anything to me. It doesn't mean the team is going to take you. It doesn't mean the team is not going to take you. So a GM showing up means nothing. Here is what does mean something. This does mean something. When a head coach and your position coach, which is in this case the offensive coordinator, shows up to your pro day, you're a high likelihood of being drafted by a said team. Why is that? Because if they're going to fly to whatever it is, wherever you're at, to host for your pro day, to watch you perform, and to interview you and just to see you in action, that means they're seriously considering you. That's why when I think of Mariota, the only head coach and offensive coordinator / offensive coordinator who showed up was Tennessee. Tennessee brought their contingents. Everyone else, it was just the GM or the GM and this person, but it was never the head coach and the position coach. Which brings me back to Winston. Or, Tampa Bay in this case. Tampa Bay sent Jason Light, who's the general manager of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He went to the pro day. And everybody says, oh, see, that shows that they're interested in Mariota. No. Where was Lovie Smith? Where was Lovie Smith? Lovie Smith didn't show up. Where was Dirk Cutter? These are two people who's good. Listen, folks. The player only has to deal with the GM up until the day he signs. He puts, as my dad likes to say, his John Hancock, his signature on the paper. Once he puts his John Hancock on the paper, at that point he's no longer dealing with the GM until the next time he's in a contract negotiation. At that point, the coach is his new daddy. The position coach is his new daddy. Those are the people he's going to be dealing with on a consistent basis. So don't you think that these are the guys who should show up to your pro day if they're considering you? If they're considering you, don't you think that they will show up to your pro day? Guess what? They didn't show up to the pro day. Now, some people go to balk and say, no, but they showed up to the personal workout. I don't care about the personal workout. I care about the pro day, and I'm going to explain to you why. Because a personal workout can send many signals. Personal workout can send many signals. It can send the signal, well, we're potentially interested, and it could send a signal as we're doing this as a smoke screen to show that we're interested, but we're not really interested. Or they call it, or as they like to call it in the NFL, due diligence. Okay? Personally speaking, I don't get it. Combine, pro day, and then a personal workout. To me, that's a little overkill. But hey, the NFL is in the money business, and anytime they can milk a story, because this is the slow cycle in the NFL, in the year for the NFL. So hey, anytime they can milk a story, they're going to do that. So anyway, they didn't show up for his pro day, but they showed up for his personal workout. Okay, but I said, well, you know what? Let me see if they show up for Jameis Winston's pro day. Because Winston's pro day was a few weeks after Mariota's. And Lovie Smith already said, oh, I'm going to be at Jameis Winston's pro day. But he couldn't go to Mariota's pro day. So now they not only showed up to Winston's pro day, they also showed up to his personal workout. Where all they showed up to Mariota was his personal workout. So that's the first clue. Tampa Bay is taking Winston. Okay? Matter of fact, Gil Brandt, an ex-scout or Italian evaluator, whatever you want to call him, or personnel guy who used to work with the Cowboys, said what I was saying. That it's one thing if a GM shows up to your pro day, but it means more when the coaches show up. That means that there could be serious interest. He just confirmed what I was saying, folks. He confirmed what I already knew. So those are things that I do look for, okay? So Mariota's pro day, the GM just showed up. And I'm talking about from Tampa Bay. Florida State's pro day, a couple of weeks later, not only was the GM there, the offensive coordinator was there, the scouts was there, the owner was there, okay? The owner was there. Matter of fact, the owner was even at the combine. But like I said, that don't mean anything to me. But the owner was already at the pro day. You got him out working out. You know, Lovie Smith was there. So they all paid attention to Jameis Winston. They didn't pay as much attention to Marcus Mariota. Now, some people will say, well, because Mariota has less scouting to do. That's bullcrap, folks. That's a bunch of malarkey, and here's why. Because anytime you get ready to make this guy the face of your franchise, don't you want to spend as much time with him before the draft as you can? And don't tell me about smoke screens. You're the number one pick. There's no need to set a smoke screen. There's no need for misdirection. You're the number one pick. You own the card, because you know how many teams would love to get up there to get Winston. You know how many teams would love to move up to go get a Jameis Winston? So right now, you're in the prime position of your Tampa Bay. There's no need to set smoke screens and misdirection. That's nonsense. But that's not the only reason why I said Tampa Bay is taking Jameis Winston. That's one of the reasons. Here's another reason, and it's even stronger than this original reason that I used. Now, after Jameis Winston's personal workout with Tampa Bay, the following day, because what Tampa did was this, and they set it up pretty smart. About a week ago, Tuesday, they had Mariota in for a personal workout. Okay, well, they flew out to Oregon for a personal workout with Mariota. Personally, if I was already picking Winston, I wouldn't even bother. But I understand you want to do your quote-unquote due diligence. Okay, fine. So they flew all the way out to Eugene, Oregon to do a personal workout with Mariota. The next day, they set it up for the next day that Jameis Winston, they will fly back to Tallahassee, because it's close to Tampa. So they fly back to Tallahassee. And they would do the personal workout with Jameis Winston. Now, the fact that they gave Winston last crack says a lot, because they gave Winston the final workout, the final impression. And when you're trying to impress the boss, the owner that hired you, you want the final interview. You don't want the interview before the final guy. You want the final interview because why? That's the last thing they remember, the final interview. But there was even a stronger message behind that, because it was kept quiet. It was in a shh. Mike Allstott was hosting an event that Thursday. Okay? Now, the general media did not know about this, but it was picked up when someone spotted Winston in Tampa Bay on Thursday. So they said, wait a minute. Tampa Bay had the personal workout with Mariota on Tuesday. They had the personal workout with Winston on Wednesday. What is Winston doing in Tampa Bay on Thursday? Wait a minute. Winston is not meeting with Tampa Bay, not that we know of. Well, it turned out he was attending. He was attending Mike Allstott charity event. Now, who is Mike Allstott, and why is this important? Mike Allstott was a fullback who played for the Buccaneers. I believe he was there even during their championship year in 2002. But he's a Bucs legend, okay? And if my memory serves me correct, he even still has a role in the Bucs organization, or he's affiliated with them. Let's just put it that way. They still keep in contact, believe that. So anyway, Mike Allstott, from what is being reported, contacted his agent, Mike Allstott's agent. Mike contacted his own agent and says he would like to invite Jameis Winston to his event. Now, whether Tampa Bay suggested he did that or whether he suggested it really doesn't matter, because here's why. You think you think Winston was invited without Tampa Bay's knowledge ahead of time? If you believe that, I got a bridge over here to sell you, called the Brooklyn Bridge. I got a bridge to sell you. Yeah, I own it. If you believe that Mike Allstott contacted Winston and asked him to come to this charity event and Tampa Bay had no knowledge of that. Of course they had knowledge of it. They might have set it up. They might not have. They might have, in other words, suggested Mike to do that. They might not have. I don't know. And quite frankly, I really don't care, because that's not the issue. The point is, Mike Allstott reached out to Winston, and Winston smartly accepted the invitation. Now, why is this important? Because now there was pictures of Jameis Winston at this charity event. Jameis Winston giving the charity. Jameis Winston hanging out with the Bucs brass. Now, where was Mariota? Well, it turns out Mariota wasn't invited. Okay? Now, don't you think if Mariota was in play for that number one pick, folks, that Mariota would also be there? Don't you think Tampa would say to Mike, okay, if you want to invite Winston, no problem, but at least invite Mariota as well? That's what I would do if I'm considering a guy, because I want to see how he is in a social setting. That's the perfect setting. This is how I want to see how Mariota performs and reacts, how he handles himself. This is the perfect time to see the stark contrast between the two. So the fact that Mariota wasn't there, folks, tells me, plain and simple, Tampa has already made up their minds. So this is why I'm sitting here like scratching my head like when I heard Pete Prisco, who writes for CBS.com or CBSSports.com, he was saying for the people to stop the misdirection and stuff, this, that, and the other. No, you know who can stop it? Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay can nip this in the bud anytime Tampa wants. This is why I think it's stupid for Tampa to wait until the draft to make the announcement that everybody already knows. What, since you don't went to that length to have Winston at the event, okay, and apparently he was a hit at the event, okay, and they got all this time with Winston and none of it with Mariota, so that tells me right there, Winston is the guy. So if that's the case, why don't you just go ahead and make the announcement, get it over with, because it's obvious that he's the guy. You're not even hiding that fact. You're not even doing a good job of hiding that fact, that he's the guy. So you can go ahead and make the announcement, so now that kills all speculation. Because I said it before, I'm going to say it again. This NFL draft is not about who's going number one. That's not the story of this NFL draft. The story of this NFL draft is, where is Marcus Mariota going to land? Which is the same story as last year when we were talking about Johnny Manziel. Where was Johnny Manziel going to land? It's the same story, just different names. Okay? So, to me, Winston has already been, it's like they say, preordained. Now, there's some reports there down in Tampa, and like I said, I don't know if this is true or not, that they had their minds made up on Winston since November. I doubt that, but who knows? Personally, I could care less. But if you want to put to bed that you're waffling or wavering on Winston, or people is not on board with Winston, the way you do that is before the draft, you make it clear. It's going to be Winston. Now, no one can claim, oh, everybody wasn't on board. No one can claim, oh, it's a smokescreen. No one can make these claims. Okay? You've already now nipped it in the bud. Now you can focus on your other picks. See, because now you got in one elephant. You dealt with the elephant that was in the room. The big elephant in the room. And here's what I say to Winston. Whether it's Tampa Bay or anyone else, they're going to put their trust in you. Don't make them regret that. Handle yourself as well off the field as you do on. Because remember, you're under a microscope, and there are people out here who wants to see you fail. There are people out here who doesn't like you, including in the media. They don't like you for whatever their reasons may be. Doesn't matter. So just watch your step, because, hey, there are people out here looking to do you harm. Or should I say they got bad intentions. So just understand that. Here's what I say to Tampa Bay. If you're going to draft Winston, build up your offensive line, folks. Give them an excellent, solid running game. See, something like what Seattle did. Make the game easy for Russell Wilson. Seattle made the game easy for Russell Wilson. You want to make it easy for Jameis Winston, folks. They got some stud wide receivers, so they're good in that spot. But I would be focusing on offensive line, running game, and the defense. Improve those three areas, and guess what, Tampa? You'll be competing for the division next year. I want to thank you all for watching another segment of the Jermaine Brown Sports Show. Take care.